Maybe we can just end with the perfect footlock position. You mentioned that's not your preferred position. What do you prefer?
Yeah, well, I guess the perfect footlock would be depending on what footlock you're doing, but a good one to start with is the leg reap position. This is always a good ideal footlocking position, especially if we're starting on a heel hook. I may not finish with this position, but this is a good position because both of my legs are hidden and safe, and both of your feet are very vulnerable. So the leg reap is one of my favorites. And I think, not to get too far off of a tangent, but I think that it's important that you understand these, because when we're talking about leg locking in our world or IBJJF rules, you can't leg reap, but all the guys that are doing one-legged spider guard, that's how I used to pass it before it became a faux pas to do leg reaping. Like, that's one of my favorite ways to pass. So if you have a spider guard, one of my favorite methods to pass if a guy has one is to jump on your legs. Look, now you're in a leg lock position. It doesn't take much to get into a leg lock position from spider guard. And then you can pass it, and obviously the inside heel hook when leg reaping position is one of the best here. It's very painful, but those things I think are very important to practitioners to understand and be aware of. And that goes back to where you're like, what are you teaching? If you know footlocks inside and out and a leg is extended, then you don't need your arms to isolate the legs. You need your legs to isolate the legs, and especially a leg reap traps your leg, and now you're in trouble. So those things I think you always have to be a little bit aware about.
Okay. So if the reaping is the best way to get a straight ankle lock, what's the best IBJJF legal way to straight ankle lock?
Again, that's a whole nother, I guess it depends on where you are, where you're finishing, and whether it's belly down, staying face forward. Because IBJJF, remember, I cannot face in on the leg. I always have to stay facing on the outside. So once I get the leg, once I get this low wrist control instead of a deep, the figure four is good, but I prefer having actually the blade of the wrist and then of course rolling over the elbow to curve the foot in. But even with this inside leg position, this one isn't necessarily better than this one. I get a lot more leverage when I start bridging on the outside. The only problem with this is if you do pass my leg and I have no threat of a heel hook, now I'm in a little bit more of a troubled scenario. So the best finishing position depends on what I like to do versus what your leg length and all this good stuff. But I would say ideally the safest leg position is to have one on the inside, one on the outside, real low on the ankle, and roll over the top there. I think that's the safest, because I can recover easy. If I miss my foot lock, I can pull your leg back up. My leg is still pummeled on the inside, so I can come back to the passing scenario or stand up. And those follow-ups you need to be aware of.
Very good. So two of you are teammates, are Eddie Cummings and Gary Tonin, both amazing leg lock experts. Why are they so good at leg locks?
Because they have John Danaher teaching them leg locks. I just did, 2 months ago I was there and did a private with him. He's my colleague, but also he's one of my instructors. And it blew my mind, still I was like, oh, this is genius. Some of the stuff was genius. And so I've been drilling it here with Dane and one of my instructors here. We drill it every day. It's all about heel hooking and different things that he does with the heel hook to make it successful. So to have that guy overseeing your training day in, day out is a big, big, big help. that helps a lot. And then, they're the ones doing the work. So you can't say that it's all him or anything. They did a lot of work. They drill all the time. They drill, they train, they train intelligently all day long, if that's what it means. And they're constantly playing with those things. They're constantly playing and innovating things and sort of using his guidance. And then, of course, they both compete well. So there's a lot of factors, but in essence, they've got a great instructor and they have a great work ethic.
Yeah.
Hello guys, André Galvão here.
Hi Jiu-Jitsu lovers, Saulo Ribeiro here.
Hey everybody, this is Xande Ribeiro. What's going on guys, JT Torres here.
Hi, I'm Felicia O. Hello everyone, guys and girls, I'm here to invite you all.
This gang of champions would like you to join them on their vacation. So pack your sunglasses, swimsuit, and of course your gi, board a cruise ship, and head to the Caribbean for 6 days of training, rolling, and more fun in the sun than you can handle. What could be better than training with 6 world champions aboard a beautiful cruise liner to the Caribbean? Hanging by the pool, exploring the islands, and partying with your friends, family, and some of the greatest jiu-jitsu legends of all time. Saulo Ribeiro, Janji Ribeiro, Andre Galvão, Felicia O, JT Torres, and Angelica Galvão.
We're gonna visit Jamaica. We're gonna also go to Caribbean.
All throughout the Caribbean.
Yeah, man, and we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Grappler's Escape gives you all this and so much more.
Two of the biggest teams in the world. Think they ready?
I hope you're ready because we are.
This is the jiu-jitsu vacation of a lifetime. So don't wait. Cabins are filling up fast. All belt levels are welcome. Email grapplersescape@gmail.com for info and to reserve your spot today.
Grappling Escape, August 2015.
Summertime. Who says it's not good to fight on a vacation?
So it's not uncommon for blue belts to become enamored with leg locks, and they often find that you don't have to pass the guard. You can just fall back for a footlock, and some teachers stress that they shouldn't rely on footlocks too much. You should work on more passing your guard. How much leg lock training is too much, and how do you keep your students balanced?
Yeah, that's where the debate lies or the argument lies. I think too much of anything is bad, right? So I think as long as you see your students, because footlocks, what happens with footlocks is a guy that knows footlocks and a guy that doesn't is like a guy knowing jiu-jitsu versus a guy that doesn't. Even if the guy is a well-trained jiu-jitsu guy, if they don't know footlocks, there is a potential chance for the guy who is exceptional at footlocks to finish them repeatedly and have the guy like, whoa, what the heck? I think a good sign to keep in mind for students that are coming up is if they become successful at footlocks and then they start doing it on a regular basis over and over and over and over, and they're not working on their other game because they just like to finish, they like the feeling of that success. That's a red flag. I think as an instructor, you need to make like, hey, you know, that's great. If you're not evolving your footlock game, if it's the same thing you're doing all the time, then let's work on the rest of jiu-jitsu because there's a lot of jiu-jitsu left. There's passing and guard and all this good stuff. So I think if people get tunnel visioned, that's when you have to be a little bit careful. And as an instructor, you need to guide your student around just being tunnel vision, but they can work on their strengths. Everybody needs to work on their strengths, but they need follow-ups that happen if a failed footlock, and you know that blends to the rest of their game. So it's not just that they're footlocking somebody, it's that they have a huge, very successful game, and a footlock is just part of it.
Great. Last thing, Shawn, I'm just going to give you a few rapid-fire questions. Your answers can be as long or short as you want, but footlocks are cheap. True or false?
False. They cost me a lot of money to learn a footlock. Yeah, no way. They're not cheap at all.
Footlocks are easy.
No, absolutely not. There's a lot of technique that goes into what makes it look easy. Jiu-jitsu looks easy look at the world-class guys that make triangles look easy, make flying arm locks look easy. It's a highly technical situation going on. There's a lot going on with footlocking, so no, not easy.
Arm locks are more technical than footlocks.
Absolutely not. Completely disagree with that. Maybe even the other way around. There's a lot of moving parts. Remember, you're trying to isolate a leg, not an arm. So, yeah.
Reaping is dangerous.
Reaping is dangerous just if the person doing it is dangerous.
You shouldn't tap to heel hooks. You shouldn't try to defend heel hooks. You should just tap immediately.
You should defend unless you don't know what you're doing. You know, defense is like anything. If you've got good training partners, no good training partner is going to rip your foot off or your knee off. They should be applying the techniques with you to have time to defend. And if you're caught, you tap and then you defend after to save your limb.
5-Star Martial Arts is the best academy in Los Angeles.
You got that right. And if I could say one other thing, I didn't mean to disrespect Tom DeBlas and Ricardo, because that's where Gary came from, and those guys, like Ricardo is one of my teachers. That guy's one of my idols. He is one of the most incredible and talented jiu-jitsu guys in the world. So I didn't mean to just oversee them either. They obviously have a a lot to do with that. The footlock game, though, that you're seeing those guys use is like, that's pretty heavy on the John Danaher side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, of course. Awesome.